I don't know if you guys remember, but when we bought our sailboat that was abandoned on the harbor for over 22 years, we had two main problems that could result in the mast failing. A broken state terminal and also the fact that the spreaders that were made out of wood were completely rotten. And that's exactly what we are gonna replace today. I'm Roberta.
And I'm Duca.
And for the past year, we have been building our own tiny shipping container house, so we can travel around knowing that we will always have this little place that we can call home.
But guess what? We just found our dream project before we expected, this abandoned sailboat. So we are gonna stop building the house for a couple months to bring our boat back to life. And then we're gonna go back and finish the house.
If you are new to our channel, this is the third video about the assembling of our brand new mast.
Yeah, so if you didn't watch the past 2 episodes, we encourage you to pause this video, go back, watch this playlist, and then you can come back and watch this one. Yeah, now that you're already up to date, you can start this one. So what are you gonna do today?
We are gonna do a lot of things.
Yeah, today we're gonna start the scary tasks of assembling a mast. But before we start the scary part, there is one more thing that we've been postponing for a while that we need to do it. What do you mean?
The position of the gooseneck.
Yeah, let's start by positioning and installing the gooseneck. So, let's get started. The gooseneck is the connection between the boom and the mast. And as you can tell, screwing it in place, it's pretty much straightforward. It's exactly like screwing any other accessories we showed you in the past 2 episodes. The problem here has another name: freedom.
Freedom?
Yeah, freedom. As you probably know by now, we are building our mast and rigging system from scratch. And as we didn't make the new sails for the boat yet, we have the freedom to decide exactly the height we want for the boom. And this decision turned this task into by far the longest one so far on this mast project.
If the boom is too low, in order to have head clearance on the cockpit, we would need to have a huge angle on the boom. If we had the boom too high, it would be terrible to work on the boom whenever necessary. Well, at this point, we needed to decide. So we tried to find a sweet spot. And for our boat, we believe it's 1.3 meters in between the boom and the deck.
Well, until this point, other than the connection of both parts of the mast, all the other components we installed, even though they're really important, if they fail, we won't lose our mast. But from now on, we are gonna get a bit more serious. It's time to start talking about parts of the mast that can never fail. Otherwise, there is a huge chance we will lose our mast. That means we would not just lose a lot of money, but also be in danger. With the spreaders ready, it's time to start assembling another really important group of components, the stays.
Here is the marina also. You've never been here, but here is where Zé has his shop. Back there. I found the guy. Yep. And I realized that this is actually our stays. Can you see here? That's so cool. It's getting closer and closer and closer of us having a mess. That's pretty cool.
Well, in order to assemble the stays, the first task was to assemble the terminals, these little stainless steel components that connects the stay to the mast. This is exactly what broke on our old rigging, and in case the wrong terminal breaks, it can also result in a mast failure. Yeah, this little stainless steel piece can actually take down our mast.
First one, ready? The way this works, you have two main kinds of terminals and turnbuckles. The one that you need to do this, and the one that you don't need, that's this one. The reason for using this kind of terminal is because you can actually exchange the wire and keep the terminals. So that's the expensive part. The wire is the cheap part. So if we need to exchange a wire, we exchange a wire and we won't lose the terminal. And the way this works, you have this small piece inside that is the way you install this. I don't know if you understood on the previous image, but you have more than one layer of wire on the whole cable, and you install this in between the outside layer and the inside. You get the inside layer of wires and it goes through, and the outside goes around, and these then go inside of this piece, and when you press, it will compress everything together and won't let this slip. That means that the wire won't go anywhere and it's gonna be here without losing. It's just, yeah, I think the image explain better than I do explain. But basically, we prefer to use this kind of terminal because we can reuse if necessary in the future. And this is a lot more expensive than the wire. By the way, this is, as we told you before, this is made by Nautus. And if any of you guys want to check Nautus out, there is the link on the description below. And now we need to do the same thing for another 12 because we have like 13 stays. Yeah, that's good. One, check. Let's do the rest. I think this one's a little bit bigger. Check this out. That's number 8 millimeters, 12 millimeters. That's huge actually. Yeah, but I think you guys got the point, right? We need to repeat this process. I mean, Zé and Batata need to repeat this process because they know what they're doing and I have no idea. I don't want to risk that right now. So they're just gonna keep doing the same thing and just repeat the process for another, I guess, 8 or 9 times. And then we're gonna show you the rest.
Well, this was how far we got on the mast assembling.
Yeah, as you can tell, we're not on the boat yard yet.
No.
We're still in lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. The truth is, we are supposed to go back to the marina in like 6 days, I think, on the
I don't know,
23rd.
I'm not counting the days anymore.
Yeah, supposedly the governor said we have quarantine on the state of São Paulo until the 23rd of April.
Yeah.
But last time was until the 8th and he extended. So we don't know if it's gonna extend or if it's gonna stay like this. So for now that's it. We still have a lot to do before we get the mess up, but it's a lot of small tasks that we can do. I think like 2 days or one or 2 days of work, we are ready to actually step the mess in place. That's gonna be really cool. Yeah, but before we go, we want to answer a few questions, like 3 main questions that a lot of people ask the same thing, so that maybe means that we didn't properly explain on the last 2 episodes. So what's the first question that everyone asked?
Why did you put the stainless steel steps on the top of the mast instead of the bottom?
Before we answer this one, we just want to let you know that we do agree with you. At first, it makes a lot more sense to put the heavier steps on the bottom to keep the center of gravity of the boat down. Of course, it makes the entire sense. It's just like makes a total sense. But in life, sometimes you don't have one reason. You have like a lot of reasons. And the way we try to work is always to make like a list of pros and cons and see what we have and try to make a decision based on the entire thing, not in one thing, just in, see as a, how you say, like
A bigger picture?
See the bigger picture. Yeah, for example, in engineering, not necessarily a building that won't fall pass through the code, because you need to be comfortable also. Sometimes if a building shakes a little bit, like vibrates a little bit, even though it's not gonna fall, you're not allowed to build that way, because someone that steps in the building might have the feeling that's gonna fall, and the feeling that's gonna fall is already not enough. And for us,
Bringing this to the
mess. Yeah, I'm just trying to explain myself to you guys, so maybe you understand a little bit of what our decision making. Yeah, I don't know if it was easy to notice, but the stainless steel step, the place where you actually step your feet, like the bottom of the L shape, is a little bit less wide. It's like thinner? Not thinner. No, it's not thinner. It's like the aluminum one is wider. That means it's much better to step in. It's like the platform that you step in is much more comfortable to step in. That means safer when you're doing quick. We believe we are gonna go up to the first spreader a lot more often than we're gonna go up to the top of the mast, because the reason why you go to the top of the mast usually is for maintenance of the antennas or for maintenance of the stays, maintenance, the wind vane, the wind sensor, all that. To the first spreader, not necessarily is maintenance. Sometimes you want to go up to the first spreader to see if there is a coral head ahead, or to take a picture, or to make videos, and we work with pictures and videos. That means we have steps because we want to go as often as possible to at least the half of the mast, so we can see a whale and take pictures of a whale and all that stuff. Of course, we're going to still use harnesses. We're not going to go up all the time without harnesses. We want safety, but makes a lot faster to do it. And as we are going to go more often to the first spreader, we decide to have the most comfortable steps to the first spreader, because we're going to use more often.
And not just because of that.
Not just because of that. And also, just before you say, oh, so it's dangerous to go up. No, it's not dangerous, it's less comfortable. So, to have comfortable on the top where you need to work sometimes, to maximize the comfort. Maximize,
okay.
That's a good one. Yeah, to maximize the comfort, every spot on the mast where we need to stay longer, we have aluminum steps. That means before the radar, we have both steps, one in each side, aluminum. On the top, where you need to stop and work for maybe 1, 2, 3 hours on the top of the mast, we have 2 aluminum steps also. And that's one more thing. If you see, it's not like always the same division of steps. We have sometimes 2 in a row, because if we have a spreader, the spreader itself is 1 step. So that means we have 1 here, spreader, 1 here. This being said, let's go to the second reason. What's the second reason?
The second reason is the ones on the bottom are more likely to have salt water on them.
She's getting better. Yeah. Keep going. I'm enjoying.
The coffee. So the ones on the bottom are more likely to have salt water on them. So
it's more. It's gonna have more spray from the ocean. That means that we are gonna need to clean the stainless steel more often.
Yeah.
Aluminium, anodized. I believe it's anodized actually, and the aluminum is more resistant to the salt water. I mean, like only the. Yeah, I believe it's more resistant. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe I rather have aluminum where there is salt water than stainless steel. So the top ones are stainless steel because we were gonna clean less often, and also because the aluminum one, the place where you step your foot, have like little curves. That means it's not as slippery as the stainless steel. And on the stainless steel one, we need to apply a non-skid
tape.
Non-skid tape is something that's good, but also that gets bad with time. And with salt water, it's also going to get bad. So that means that if the non-skid tapes are on the top, we are going to need to exchange to replace the tape less often. So that means that the longevity of the tape, I'm with good words, the longevity of the tape is going to be better. And that's another thing. In engineering, you always take in consideration the duration of the project and the maintenance of the project. So we thought a lot about the maintenance of the steps. That's other reason we have another one.
I don't remember.
The brightness.
The brightness, of course.
Yeah.
So the stainless steel is more bright.
A lot more brighter. Yeah, it reflects more sunlight. That means when you look forward,
you are gonna see a bright thing there. So in this case, as we put them on the top, we can look forward and not see that bright
only
stuff.
When you look up to the mast, but somewhere they need to be. So basically we want to have less shiny parts on the bottom of the mast, so we can look forward without shining parts. And also because shining parts on the top of the mast is actually good, because it can help on reflection for radar signs. So that means that if there is another boat, our mast step might reflect the sign from their radar and they can see us easier. I'm not sure if it's a lot easier, but you never know, it might help.
It might help.
I think that's it, right?
The other question.
another question.
I hope we explained our reason of putting this there.
If you still don't agree, let us know. I mean, the weight was on the list. I told you about the list of pros and cons. The con was the weight. We do agree that the weight is, we put more weight on the top, but the mast itself is so much lighter than the other mast that it's fine. I mean, like, we didn't add much weight. It's gonna be fine. But if you disagree, you can let us know. I mean, like, we are not the owner of the truth.
Can I go to
Yeah,
the
you can
next question? The next question is, did we put the steps upside down?
No. Yeah, a lot of people. We didn't expect this question. A lot of people think that we put the steps upside down, and maybe, yeah, seems like stronger if you put this way, right? But if you put this way, your feet is not. You can slip your feet and step out of the step, and if it's this way, you step inside of the step. Yeah, seems like it's funny because until last week, it was so calm here.
Yeah.
Everyone was in quarantine. Now, even though we are still in quarantine, seems like a lot more cars around.
Yeah.
Well,
And people working.
people working, yeah, that's the noise. Yeah. So they step this way, you step inside of the step, and then your feet won't be able to slip to the outside part. So no, we didn't install upside down. What's the next
There
one?
was one more question. About the lines. So why did we bring all the lines?
Why didn't we?
Why didn't we bring all the lines, clutches, and winches to the cockpit?
Even though it seems we didn't change that because our old mast, most of the lines were all on the mast.
Yeah.
And we did change. Actually, we brought a lot of the lines to the cockpit. The thing is, we decided to replace our mast after we had painted the boat already. That means that any modification to the deck layout is really hard because we need to ruin the paint job, we need to weld again, and it's confusing. So what we did something in between. We brought to the cockpit all the lines that we know we are gonna use often. Lines that we know we need to adjust all the time, we brought to the cockpit. For example,
The main sail,
the main halyard.
the main halyard to host the main sail,
Yep.
the reef for the main sail.
Reef 1 and Reef 2.
Yeah.
And both Genoa furlers, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, having the mainsail halyard and the two mainsail reefs on the cockpit means that we don't need to go to the mast in a storm or during night most of the time. And if something happened, we might need to go. But we don't use the halyard for the Genoas all the time. Sometimes you take down the Genoa once, twice a year. Doesn't make sense to have this line on the cockpit and waste a lot of space because our cockpit is really small, really tiny.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't look like, our cockpit is a lot smaller than most of the boats our size. So that means that all the lines that we don't use often are on the mast. So why do we have that many winches on the mast then if we don't have that many lights on the mast?
So we have
lines?
two for the Genoas to put them up and down.
Yeah, we have one Genoa halyard on each side of the mast, so we decided to keep, as we had already, the winches, keep one winch in each side so we can have one winch for each halyard.
And we kept one more, that's for our lift center board.
Yeah, the winch right facing forward on the mast is for the center board.
Yeah.
I don't know if we explained that, but some of you might know already, most of you know already. We do have a center board, a swing center board, and that's where you raise the center board is on the mast. And that's something that would be really complicated to change. And I think it's a good way of raising the center board. It's not that heavy. We tried already on a boat similar to ours, just to see how heavy it was. It takes a long time though, but we're gonna get used to it. I think that's...
What's next?
What's next? Next is a lot of eating, Netflix, and editing. Yeah, that's all we do now. Nowadays, for like the past month, we just edit videos, we watch Netflix series, and we eat a lot coffee. And we've been eating really well actually. We've been eating a lot.
Oh, what's next on the mast?
On the mast. Yeah, on the mast. Let's see. We need to wait until the quarantine finishes. We have, I would say, like 99.9% of everything we need to assemble the mast.
We just don't have the support for the radar, but the rest we have everything.
And the antenna for the VHF.
Okay.
We do have the wire for the VHF. We don't have the antenna itself. But that's something that we can install even after the mast is ready. We can leave the wire there and then we just connect the wire and screw the antenna. That's fine. Next step is to run all the wires for the mast lights that we bought already. For
Navigation
the navigation light on the top, for deck lights on the spreaders, We need to run the wire for the radar, the wire for the wind sensor, the wire for the VHF. We need to install the Windex to see the direction of the wind, and we need to install the halyards. Other than that,
and the terminals and everything.
Terminals, it's done.
To put in place.
Oh no,
To
that's
step
just
the mast.
yeah. We are gonna just do that right on the day we are gonna step the mast. We just connect the the terminal to the mast. Oh, one more thing. We didn't install yet the turnbuckles, and the reason for that is because even though we built a brand new mast, we don't have the blueprint for the sail plan. That means that we have like a estimative length for the stays, but we don't have exactly the final length for each stay. That means that we are gonna put the mast up, and we are gonna do one stay by it. We're gonna do like one stay, the other one, and the other one, and once we finish all the stays, then we can actually install the general folders. But that's too much for today. We're gonna do that in a future episode. Hopefully really, really soon, right?
Yeah.
We are really close, and we are really excited because now it's just a question of time. It's done. We do have all the parts. The dream is becoming a reality. I mean, it is a reality already. Cheers. That's really good, yeah.
Now we need to welcome on board the persons that are helping us to achieve our dream.
Yeah, let's welcome on board our new patrons that actually helped make this happen. It's true. Guys, thanks so much. Really, really, I'm gonna say again, appreciate that. So, welcome on board.
Robert,
David,
Grammy,
Dennis,
Chaplin.
and we also want to thank a donation to our PayPal. Thanks so much, Henry.
Anyway,
And
yes,
that's it for
that's
today. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Stay at home, take care, and stay healthy.
We see you
guys
soon.
next Monday. See you guys next Monday.